Then do these Anoenki ants who disbelieve by believing in Shakti and her Baraki thunderbolt or Anu Hanuman, and Ganeshai Enki Hermes, and Maruti Matheket of Babel Pit, think that they can take my servants instead of me as allies? Indeed, we have prepared a hellhole for disbelievers as a lodging. And so this is where, when the Harut Maruti servants of God that were assigned by him himself to serve the Buddha beast and Durga dragon in Babel pit by mass producing yogi gurus and mokshad monkeys and Canaanite minerals and fooled psyche sacks and empowered egos for them, by providing free choice of buying empowered bass or mindfulness or intelligence from them, are to be forgiven out of the Babel pit before its flatulent foam gas enkindles into lake of burning fire. As we read before about Ruhi rescue of trench toppled Ganesha and Marut by Yahuyashai Yada of Allah, or Christ Karimi, hand of Allah, they are saved through this part of the Isaiah 11:11. And it shall come to pass in that day door, of the embarking, basically, Allah shall set his Yahuyashai right hand again the second time. This is not that the first time is for the humans of the resurrection. This is the second time, and this is part of the 49,000 years after the 1,000-year long part, to gather the remnant of his nation, which shall be left from Assyria, and Enkimat from Egypt, and Patros, and from Cush Kashiap, and from Elam, and from Shinarish Sanduns, and from Hamat, and from the 7 islands of the Salty Sea. These are the islands of the Salty Sea, or the mounts that on top of one of them the son of Noah went up. And so these mounts, or these islands, are at the back of the 19 mega island mounts of the hell that are making it her stable. And then Yahuyashai, right foot of Allah, will tread and tramp the Kundalini canyon of Krishnan Canaanites and LGBT losers. This second time of gaining the remnants, there are also genes that are going to be collected into the book of life, as well as the humans, and so they will be saved before the gathering of gurus, and their gay god would be set on fire. That is why we read about disconnect of Varun Barunai elephant, who will be gathered up from among Gagi and gorge of yogi gurus and foamy pharaoh of festered philosophers that he has produced for Barack Obama Tammuz 3rd, or the Ramarat, that in Surah 36 verse 74. But they have taken beside Allah gay gods and Ganeshai elephants, that perhaps they would be helped again. For the only way to help is to gain extra ba'as or boaz or mind power. They cannot see any help from the heart that is beyond the linearity of the mind, because once it gets to the love, then the feminine spirit as well as the Yahuwah al-Haqi masculine spirit starts to love, and you start to love too. And then that is something that mind linear thinking cannot handle. All that mind can do is to think about this black hole in the manhole of the mind. That's where the mind gets the help and recharges itself for these the empty pots of emptiness that are dharmaing to the emptiness to become empty and to work in their Boazi way. They, the Hari Heliosi, Buddha Beast and Durga Dragon, are not able to help them. The She, or the energy that gives you Boaz, or the Ba'as, as we read in Asura 16 verse 81, or the intelligence, are not able to help them. And they, Katusi, Harut, Hermes, or Matla or Shams, or the sunrise, and the Katupatesi Marut Heket of the Maghrab or Shams, or the sunset, the sunrise and sunset at the two sides of the Barack Obama Helios, are for them Ashtrei ants that do Surya Namastakara of sun salutation or sun dancing, are for them as Islamic soldiers. Like at one point Ganesha is going to turn into another soldier for the Christ in the battle of their orangutans. Again, he is believing in God, but all of the magicians and orangutan Taoist monsters that have both the dark magic, dark energy, filth from Thoth, they are all actually against Allah. But Thoth himself, as well as Mot herself, they are the soldiers of the Christ computer that is working according to the plan that Allah has given them. Cleaned, and so Katus and Katupats are for them as soldiers. Ein Sof Soft, Lanahnul Sof, or Safat Safan, or Safari Sufi, Sufers, or Tosifers, or Vasfers, or vasfing, or characterizing or exalting the capital Logos Logad name of Allah, or the Sufi sailing or sweeping row rank love lines, pages, leaves of angels in attendance of Sultan&Nahi Sa'at, that tread and tramps them, these Taoist and Zen zombies and Zionist zombies, and the wicked vampires of Vishnu, and their gay god in their wine palace all together once and for all. 103 say, shall we inform you of the greatest losers of history? The greatest losers. Who the hell is the greatest loser? As to their egotistical deeds which were wasted on developing scientific models, again the losers are the ones that are puffing on al-har or the heat of the root chakra all the way to the boazi bell ball that is filled with cobra Qatari nahs or the Reiki power that can discharge this. All that they have is to go up and down in this Vayuvodi channel. That's all they have, from their penis to vagina all the way to their mind. That's why they are dead. There is no heart in there. What they have, their heart is just eventually falls into the LGBT love. The best that mind can mimic as from the original love that is Logos has given us, or proclamation or claim of Creator has given us. Shall we inform you of the greatest losers as to their egotistical deeds which were wasted on developing scientific models? That is for Boaz or the bass. They wanted more power and strength and more higher levels of giga electron volts. This one I think they found their Higgs wasn't on 127 giga electron volt or something like that. I don't know, around that range type of thing, reaching to those levels of the Soma said scriptures of the Krishna's charashing pigs. And so who the hell are the greatest losers? They are those scapegoats and Goliath scientists or with super IQs, with Phrygian Fareg hats, of fracked valley of Akor or Aker, whose effort is lost in worldly life. And what is their effort in their worldly life? While they think that they are doing well in karma work, and like LGBT losers who are polluting the church with LGBT lawlessness and are foolishly thinking that they can enter the Christ Academy kingdom of Allah with that. And so this effort that is lost, part of this effort is their plan. And so let us bring this divine verse so that you can see their effort. And so this is how their a'mal and their sa'yahum and their sun'at or san'at or their industry is lost. And so their effort is lost in the world. And those are the ones who disbelieved in legacy verses of their Lord and called LGBT love as love, and disbelieved in resurrection and rocky rendezvous with Ar-Rahman himself. So their deeds have become worthless, and we will not assign any importance to them. And so they are those scapegoats and Goliath scientists with Phrygian hats and of a fracked valley of Achor, whose effort is lost in worldly life, while they think they are doing well in work. What is this work? And this work, as we will read again later on, this work is this sun'an, and that means san'at or industry. And what is that? Military industrial complex that is basically made based on Boaz or the bass, or the more and more power, mind power, and more intelligence, and harvesting the entire and funneling the entire mind power of the planet for making their LHCs, or for making their what they call as the scientific breakthroughs that are being whispered into their ears by their ghosts. And so that plan, or that industry, or sun'an, that sun'an is coming from innahum yakiduna kaidan. Indeed, they are planning a plan, and I am planning a plan. So allow time for the disbelievers and leave them a while to make what their asbab, or the tools and the means of Durga Dragon, their global banking system, their global police, their global UN, their globalized one world religion. Let them just do that. All of these efforts are doing one thing, and that is damaging our own species. Plan of God is just clear and obvious. Termination of whoever is not written in the book of life, and rewarding to whoever is written in the book of life. So all we are doing is betraying to our own species by getting more people to buy garbage things like LGBT love, or bending down to the Shiva in front of the LHC, or giving more LSD to the people, or getting the people to believe in the lies that we believe. That's how culture, that is a gigantic lie, is completely elastized and hijacked by Gog and Magog of the planet Ape. And so again, the only place that you can put your bet is not on the culture, but on the word of God, and where the sapphire emanation of God comes into our world. That's the only genuine love. That is the love that gives you father, mother, parents, love, reality, family, sacrifice, sacredness, the now moment that is not this, the now moment that is pure ecstasy and love. And so whose effort is lost in worldly life, and their worldly life is all being spent on colonizing more and more of the world, receiving more har, or the heat, or receiving a more amount of the Boaz. That is how the pyramid of the Pharaoh is made. Power pyramid of the Pharaoh is made. Like LGBT losers who are polluting the churches with LGBT lawlessness and are foolishly thinking that they can enter the Christ-Kalimi kingdom of Allah. Those are the ones who disbelieve in the wine verses of their love Lord, and so they are sober ones. They don't have any wine verse at their hearts, and they are dharmaing to an empty cup. For them, the wine verse is just bothering them. They want to play around with the form and the shape of that. And but again, if you lose that wine, then you can remold and do whatever funky form you want to do with it, but it is not the heart picture anymore. You lost your humanness. And call LGBT love as love, and disbelieve in resurrection and rocky rendezvous with Ar-Rahman, him holy self. So their deeds and their works or their karma works have become worthless, and we will not assign any importance to them. On the Salam Sun Source Plus Moon Book alignment gathering eclipsing portaling و جمع الشمس و القمر of Surah 75:9 or Isa Yazdani Deidur Disc of Resurrection or Qiyamat Surah 75 is another name of Christ, and the owner of Qiyamat is Allah or Malik Yawm ad-Din, and Yawm ad-Din is the day of Christ or the day of Qiyamat or the day of resurrection. That's another name of Christ. That is their recompense, hell, sorrow, for what they denied hatefully. No matter how much love I poured on them, no matter how much, that's all they could do. Why? Because they love the mind, and the mind brings basically alienation from the heart, because mind cannot understand the heart. That is why it is called mind or intelligence or intellect. The only thing that intellect can do is numbers and measurement, and love is not there. Love is in poetry or mashair or serious, a star, or shirias or she'r, and from there it starts. For what they denied. And Ravanahi Reina of Love Light for Christmas, that they wiped off or kifur covered off, and no matter how much chrismation and makeup God gave them, they said that no, our faces without the chrismation is without the makeup, it is okay, we don't need anything. And we are dharmaing to lack of Christian cosmetic. This is secondary, we don't need any evolution in consciousness. we evolve with extra powers in a super masculine way on so my steroid. And because they took my legacy signs and my Zoharahi olive oils or the camel wool wrapped words or Holy Spirit messengers in ridicule. For them, they are all, as they show in their Lord of the Rings movie, they are a bunch of retards that always talk about my precious, like that creature, pathetic creature. For these monsters, the messengers of God are nothing but bunch of lunatic people that are majnoon or crazy or talking about love. That is beyond the opposite sex or same sex because except Shiva Lingam and Yoni, the only thing that remains is Boaz, Ba'as, power. Indeed, those who have believed or amanat and done righteous deeds, like Harut and Marut's servants, and those who kept the legacy love law until rapturous, this They will have the gardens of paradise, or Firdaus, or Paradisios, or Firdaus, as a lodging, where they abide eternally and will not be kicked out again like Harut and Marut. They will not desire from it any transfer. Say, if the Venesi sea of sweet Seresht Christos, or Zoharahi olive oil Johar of Zaytuni Zahab, or Draina of the golden Dua, are the names of this sweet sea. Or we call it what? That's where actually my name is coming. Or Sab, Saba, Sap, P, charming, Karim, Korom, color, or ink. Or Hani Haoma, where a stretching measurer, or where Inca, Medadahi Inca of Book of Numbers or Zechariah, that's where the Medad, or the measurer of the temple, is mentioned in Holy Quran with the ink that you see here. That's how you madda, or you stretch and pour the johar, or the ink, or the essence, or the sap of the Sinai on the words of God, for coloring, meaningfully reviving the words. And so if the sea, if the seas were stretching ink for the words, or the claims, or the kalamos, or kalamat, or kalling, claims, proclamation of Christ Karimi, logos claim, kalimatan tayyibatan, or Surah 9 verse 40, wa kalimatullah hiyal awliya, and the word of Allah, or Christ, He is the highest, or the higher. Or Rasulallah wa kalimatuh of verse 471, Surah 471. Or kalimata min rabbaka, verse 234. These are the kalimat that are being poured from kalimatullah, from the higher, from the Christ Karimi proclamation. And so if the seas were Inca, 4 words of my Allahi love Lord, and the sea would be exhausted for writing and inking and revitalizing the water words and claimas of my love Lord, before the words and the water words of my love Lord, or the words in the book of life, would be exalted. Even if we brought, in addition to Eldad, another Medad, or Eldadud, or Elahwadud, or the like of Medadi Inca, as an oil draining supplement. Say, Amir Samuel Bozorgmer, I am only a man like you that has seen Christ Karimi Mumbuk and Zoharahi Amoris Umran, Asura number 3 and Asura number 2, and Allahi author, on November 2014, to whom it has been revealed that your holy now, or The only God is Iya or Yahweh Wahed, one God, not three God. So whoever would hope for meeting or Ruhi rendezvous with his or her, the only one love Lord, let him her do righteous work of tossing the bloody tampon of trash Trinity thinking into Trishulai toilet of toxic theologies, and not associate in worship of his love Lord anyone, even his primordial priestpen of Isa Messiah, because the 10% portion that Abraham is giving him is something that is optional, and 100% of it can be given to the Creator, that even Christ or Isa Messiah is praying to him. And then, and only then, they can enter into Isa Messiah, his face, eye, pupil, mouth portal, to become teleported into Zoharahi, living side of Allah humming Amors, or Beitul Ma'amur, the house of life and love. That's the name of Amor Ma'amur. It's the name of where the bride is. Before talking about the Isa, he end of Barack Hussein Obama, Aruna or Anu Hanuman and Shaktik Satan and Mitra or Mitra Surya together. I want to talk about some of the wrong and genetically distorted models of the rocky reality that Little Horn or the Qarn Nazir of Daniel 7:8 or the pinprick Arjavan Aruna under Parvati's vagina, or the obelisk Iblis Diablosi dildo has falsified or spoken of Daniel 7:8 based on the foamy foundation of the festered philosophies that Quetzalcoatl Phil Elephant has produced for Babel Pit's naked ethnos, Tian, Thanatos, Tina, Yans, or basically the clay ones, the ones that have clay corpse or the dead clay around them, and that's all they are. From sex to the mind, mind to the sex, sex to the mind, mind to the sex. Meanwhile, you can have a little bit of vegetarian smoothies, and that's it. Meanwhile, that you are genetically modifying everything, smashing electrons, chopping humans, putting in order to make the modern surgery, bring deodorants, and make whatever you want to do in order to even make the transhuman society that is completely and scientifically hijacked. Although they are not even able to replicate one human, one mosquito, forget about human. The little horn or Anu Hanumani pinprick of Parvati does not only produce Salman Rushdis or Shamari like a spokesman, because Shamari, part of the name, is coming from the night speakers or the gatekeepers or the Samar Mismari beaver teeth with sharp teeth that are good for going into dark waters and make long digit bodhisattvas. or summary like a spokesman of Shama'il or Ashab al-Shamal al-Sumum, Norse, or Somad Plato's or coward Confucius's that generate sick psychologists and Taoist itchings and funky philosophies and trash theories or toxic theologies for Gentiles of his Itzamnai junk hole, the little horn, or Kukulkani Krishna Eskrach also produces wrong astrological, scientific, and physical models that are tailored by his Phrygian Hatti scapegoats or bodhisattvas or Fareg or the liberated losers. Masons, in order to center him solar self or nothing, this the sex particle, as the chaotic focal point of this random universe in which you want more Boaz base or more power, and that's all that there is. More electrical power, more energy, more paste, and more plain. Just give me to this termite to eat and chew book and the paper as much as possible. Forget about the writing and love story on it, and that those are all called Maya mirage for these orangutans. And just give me to eat. And then they do namaste to themselves the more you eat. Outside of Manamunic meat of Bismillahi, Bethlehem or Tob Tayyebi tree of Tayyebat or clean and good claim kalema, good knowledge or call or idea or da'at or da'at or da'avat or idda'a, where the idea in English is coming from idda'a, the Arabic idda'a or Hebrew da'at, with fixed trunk pen. Outside of this, with fixed trunk pen, asluha sabit, and that I've written here of Asura 14 verse 24, as well as Asura 14 verse 27, with qawlaha sabit, with qawl sabit, or with the promise, with fixed and solid and stable promise of resurrection, and that is the purpose of the creation. And that opens that is basically because the author, it is a love story, and the purpose is of reaching of a lover and beloved to each other, and that is the promise. And that promise, or the fixed pledge or covenant or promise of God to us, is Christ, because Christ is the one that gets us to get to Allah. And so outside of that, all that exists is so much of knowledge of evil claim or ill idea da'at, or the curse Krishna eskharash kalamata khabisatan kashajarata khabisatan of Asura 14 verse 26. This one is verse 24. They are at and we have Genesis 2:9. Genesis 2:9. We have the analogy and the comparison of these two trees of knowledge of good and knowledge of evil. One gets you grounded, the other one gets you to sit or lump on heat, and in order to receive what? more power or more mind power, that eventually has gotten our species to make bunch of toys that is actually fascinated with its toys, although the best robots of us or our funky artificial intelligence that everybody is talking about, it is just dumber than intelligence of a mosquito that God has made. That he's had a hallucination and hangover and lack of stability is the number one property of the tree of evil. Brings nausea, annast, amnesia or nasya or nesyan to the cursed consciousness that is hosting that parvatic parasite. Mars mission, colonializing space, although it is already full of the aliens that have colonized the earth or the ghosts that have fallen there. It is this lack of stability in Caesartic tree of evil idea, da'wat, da'a, that after the step by step خطوات الشیطان, step by step selling of the ill idea of a solar system with an oval orbit in a Big Bang universe can produce enough vertigo. That is where the vertigo comes. That produces nausea. And then the best that you can do to get rid of that nausea is amnesia. I'm dying. And sleeping. That is necessary for heart alienated mind of the modernity to lose its godly grounding. Once a logos alienated mind that is trivialized by Helios's heliocentric model becomes afflicted by nausea and amnesia of that wicked and Vishnuic vertigo, lack of stability, then it is easy to give it the elastic red pill of the accursed Soma or Shajaratul Mal'una so that it could fly into Merkaba UFO meditation like a Magog maggot of Beelzebub, or a hairy hippie that is hungry for happiness, that is hairy, that is horror, or the sexy heat, which brings happiness, and for the Masons, that is for the happiness that is for the animals of the farm. However, the Masons, the pigs of the farm, they are not looking for that. For them, that sexy tantric part of the pleasure that is just nothing. For them, they are looking for Ba'as or Shadid, that also we have it in Surah 27, I think verse 33. That is where the power factory of the Shiva is working. And so over there they are looking for what? For intelligence. And so of Beelzebub, that fall fly in his Kundalini wine press. For Samadic psyche or Samud, Qawm Samud, Samudic psyche of a Shaktic psychonaut, that words like love, that words like love, mother, family, truth, freedom, and salam are turned for it into illusions and vagaries of perception and temporary constructs of a feeble human intellect. For them, everything is intellect. Again, intellect is the number one. The mind is overall the mind or the dark matter or the dark energy is above the other parts, and so all of these words are basically prayer books and poetry and love is all fall into illusion, vagaries of perception, temporary constructs of a feeble human intellect. All of our are working in a realm of neural messages. That is it is because they are all fascinated and by zero, because the only thing that can get you to go to those thinkings and is to become grounded in zero, so that once you reach to lack of stability, you come and zero yourself, and dharmaing to zero is everything, is the foundation, or the dharma law is the foundation that gets you to go into all of these arenas. And all of these arenas actually are working for the dark forces in the universe to get everything go back into the Mandelbrot fractal fart of the Buddha Abudan, or going back into zip, lack of love, lack of mother, family, truth, freedom, salam, sacredness, sacrifice for their tribe. All of those things, forget about them. That is generated on Narul Masmum, or neural gene fire of mind hole. All of these are written on the plain page. They are all made as certain neural currents in the Nadi network that is an empty mind, holy emanation of nothing that has banged out of a big blank hole. And so it must dharma to that hole and go back to that hole. That is generated on neural gene fires of mind hole. And so for a samadhic psyche that is samoding or dedomying to that zeroness of a Shaktic psychonaut, the words like these are turned into illusions, vagaries of perception, or maya, and temporary constructs of a feeble human intellect that is generated on neural gene fire of mind hole. The only way for this kind of mentality, the only way that it can maintain its egotistical existence in wicked and Vishnuic vertigo of خشک و بیهوده و تهی, خشک, bohu, and tohu, void, is to die in a spiritual silence and nirvanic stillness. That's where the bliss is for gentle junk. That is the universal characteristics of the samadhic vampires and flying magogs of Dracula, which are engulfed in his evil vertigo. As the last son of Mannamund Adam, who is going to shovel off, or shuf, or shaufa, coming from the same root, or smack the hairy head of the ancient serpent, and then it's gonna bite my heel. I am going to focus on the two largest lies that the little horn of Lady Liberty has spoken and has educated, indoctrinated, and spoon-fed the entire end-time earth with them. One lie of little LGBT horn is heliocentric rotation, an oval orbit of Earth around Sun or Hairy Helios, from which the Buddhic idea of Big Bang is derived. And the second lie is the musical origin of Logos Chokmah language, or the mashak, or the musk, or the drum, the leather skin of the drum beat. That means mashak. That's where the music is coming from. That mashak, Tubal and Meshach, origin of Logos Chokmah language. Let us focus first on the heliocentric lie of Hairy Helios, and then from there I get to the good form of the BDCTN model, or the form of the good. Let us read about the rocky reality that has caused the Ganesha gangsters, Samaritan fabricators, and scapegoats of the gay god of science to twist it twice. This rocky reality is reflected in the discourse that Abraham has had with Namrud, or Nauma, or the moist river of Jaguari Jinjet. Namrud is part of the jaguar, the super jaguar shaman, or Dajjali ki Dijla Joliat. Unfortunately, due to theological hostility between Islamic and Christian neighborhoods, this discourse is overlooked by those Duahi defenders of the geocentric model of universe, or the surface Earth, whose Amen immune natafs are anchored and watered and grounded to the graceful love light of Legacy lamp in Assyrian side of the underworldly pottery pit of deep earth. This discourse is not mentioned in the Bible, or is missing in the Bible, but we have it in Holy Quran. We read in Holy Quran verse 2, chapter 2, 1 verse 258, about the Christian cause and Islamic incentive behind the genuous jealousy or grudging that is the incentive of making heliocentric fabrication of Harry Helios and his scapegoaty astrologists. And so what 258 says is that, have you not considered the one Nimrudi Sayyad Jabbar, the mighty Sayyad or Zid of Gotamai Bet Saida, and that is also in Greek or Arabic, or in Hebrew, Beitul Said, or the house of the hunters. The one Nimrud, the hunter of Gotamai Betsaida, of the Gotamai of house of Seder, house of hunters, who argued with our Sheikh Abraham about his love Lord, merely because Allah had given him His self, his Krishna Eskharachi kingship. of Genesis 10 verse 9. When Ashar Abraham said, my Allah is the one Salam source who gives life and causes death, by forwarded tetragrammaton throne of Yasin Yasna Yishai Izad Yazdani Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Who is yes, behind, beyond his Isahi Salam screen, and gets his Salam screen or Moses as to Tarshishi tablet or Logisi Lukhlo of Inna Lillah wa Inna Alayhi Raji'un, to stamp and strike اضربوا ببعضها كذلك يحيي الله الموتى. That is how Allah brings the dead back to life. To stamp and strike the third eye nataf of the living or deceased ones. This is part of another example of how Allah brings back to life. Because Barack Obama is actually having this argument that he can bring back to life. And so Abraham says that my God is the only one that gives life and causes death. That's why we call the Christ as Malak al-Maut, or the angel of this, the master angel of this, that has millions of the angels that can cause this. He said, and so once Abraham says, my Allah is giving the life and causes this, the Namrudi hunter said, I give life and causes this, to energetic echoes of each sphere. Abraham laughed at Samiri made Sizarta, or golden calf of a stiff neck, nap Anuf, Quswat or Qasiya Anuf of Exodus 32:9. Meditators, that's where the stiff necks are coming, and said to Sodomite psychopath that what we read in Surah 2 verse 1. Although Allah has given you Krishna cow horn to scoop and scratch and plow and tasir and steer the psychic paste or the foam and make fake pots, but you are not like Allah's cow Christ, with whom Allah is pleased, of Matthew 17:5. Because the reasoning is coming in 271, that Isa he cow Christ, or Yahusha he Yada of Allah, is God-fearing and obedience and docile and tractable and humble and lowly and dim or zalul for Allah. And that is why Allah uses him, the Christ, or himself or self, like a transparent and selfless. The ultimate level of selflessness is Christ. And glassy handa, to do the will of Allah Pater God, whose godly handa is yes to scoop and scratch and plow and tasir and steer and furrow, groove, dig, or God, or Khoda in Persian, or God in English, or Huta, or Khavdai in Avesta, or Khabdad in Arabic, the furrow or compartmentalize or scoop the psychic paste of Vayu void. and make and fashion empty pots in triple darknesses, so that, and so in addition to one, that's what also Christ does, that they can be languaged or be given the power of discernment, or language, or learned, or waterwarded, or the tasqat, or taught, or ravanat, or the 99 name nectarat, or Hashem, Hosanna, Hosna, Hosnat, by merciful means of Shekinah Hishitz. It's the third reasoning, that is the third feature that Christ has and the other one doesn't. Cow Christ cloud has, or cow Peter has, Shekinah Hishitz, Zoharahi Ein Sof Suib Sufi Safa, page, bridal mark medallion, and queen crown of Hosanna-hi husband, and fig foliage leaf sheets of faith 3, and rolled zebra zabur strips pages, and psalming zamar flutes, or iron blades, of cow Christ cloudy moonbook, who is yes Mastur, Kitab Mastur, or shuttered, love-lined, written by Allah's commander. And so because of this, Abraham says that not only Allah gives life and causes this, but in comparison with the Nandi cow, the Christ cow is actually giving these 1, 2, and 3 features that are missing in that Harikalery cow of dark forces of universe, of cow cross cloudy moonbook. And so, and then Abraham added and said, indeed Allah brings up the sun. This is where the source of the basically the discourse is. Allah brings up the sun from the east, so bring it up from the west if you can, because that's the godly power of Allah and the order that Allah has given. And so cursed Krishna as a scratchy disbeliever was overwhelmed, and Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people. And so after Nimrud, Krishna cursed, heard from Abraham that indeed Allah brings up the sun from the east, so bring it up from the west if you can. This is what the Christian scholars don't know. Account of Surah 2 verse 258. He became overwhelmed or astounded or mabhut or bewildered. And then he went to beat the loser lie, which is known as Copernicus heliocentrism, that maintenance and justification of its lawful existence required the scientific community of the scapegoats of Cursed Krishna Scratch to invent and fabricate much larger lies that eventually, like a too big to fail type of intense magnification of the lies, that much larger lies that eventually turn to Einsteinian relativity and Big Bangian nonsense. Divulging, and again, these scientists this scientist idea or idda'a or da'ats are not coming randomly. There is a ancient philosophy and history attached to all of this, and the dark forces have been sticking to these cosmological laws for thousands of years. And now the same old monsters that were sitting behind their yantras are now bringing it into the Suruda Academia, are getting everybody to believe in these garbage things. That is how the pigs at night, they are changing the laws when the animals are sleeping. And the day after, they are going to a school and they have no idea why the laws on the board of the farm have changed. And so divulging the rocky truth about the stationary earth will cause the progressive collapse of this evil empire of the Abudanic lies, such as a du'ahi disclosure about the falsehood of Copernican heliocentrism in the witness of the two witnesses of Dabbat al-Ars, is known as sun rising from the west, but Tulu al-Shams min al-Maghrib, that according to the eschatological hadith of the merciful Muhammad, narrated by Hadith ibn Usyad Ghifari or Abu Huraira, is one of the 10 major signs of the Isa'i hour. In a series of questions and answers, I'm going to elaborate on the evil Da'at ideology, a Da'at claim of Copernican heliocentrism, and eschatological implications of the recent discoveries about geocentric layout of our universe. For writing this part of the witness, I have greatly benefited from the amazing work of my Nazarite brothers in the principal movie. You can see parts of the trailer of the movie here.
Everything we think we know about our universe is wrong.
You can watch the rest later on. And so Mr. Richard K. Daleno and Mr. Robert Sangenis are the brothers that have worked on this movie, as well as a very precious and rich body of written books around it about the why Galileo was wrong, and all of the misses that and the delusions, demonic delusions that are actually surrounding the heliocentric farce or evil idea. I appreciate from the great job of the two Islamo-Christian brothers as well as Dr. Wolfgang Smith. Here you can see their work
in the heliocentric system around the sun.
And you can go through their explanations, basic explanations.
My name is Rick Delano.
As well as Dr. Rick Delano and Dr. Wolfgang Smith talk about the relativity And so I appreciate from the great job of these two Islamo-Christian brothers, as well as Dr. Wolfgang Smith, for their wonderful work at the scientific front of the rocky resistance against garbage or heliocentric falsehood. I sincerely recommend to entire Islamo-Christian population of the end-time planet to support and buy and watch the Principle movie. Although there is a little bit of a rubbish rhetoric about multiverse toward the end of the documentary, it's just a suggested hypothesis that is completely wrong, that I wish it had not been added to this great movie. Two other extra links provided for you. I advise to the audience to disregard the deception of multiple universes that is discussed toward the end of the movie. And so let's look at the Q&As through which I'm going to break down what we know as the heliocentrism. Who is Nicholas Copernicus? He is nobody, but another Einstein of the old time that has eaten maggoty mushroom. In modern terminology, we could say that he is another Francis Crick on LSD, that instead of getting the idea of double helix structure of an imaginary DNA, has revived and downloaded from tree of knowledge of evil the Copernican idea, the art of moving of the earth from being at the center of the universe or the lower cosmos. Copernicus has eaten the corrupt Cubensis quail of Shova, Shava, Su, Shova, or Shiva, Devi or Zevi or Diaus, Ziaus, Devi or Diaus Pita. That I kind of for shortening this entire thing, I make it Shiva, Ziva, Zeus. Although Zeus is coming from Div or Dev or Devil, Zeus or Dios, Divus or Zeus, or Festal Phallus of Osiris, in order to eliminate the most fundamental fact of the Islamo-Christian cosmology, that I am going to rebuild by BDCT a model of consciousness, or the good and golden form of firmament. What is the religious significance of the evil idea, da'at idda'a, of Copernican principle? And how the coward conception of Copernican principle has evolved and branched out into different epistemologies and influenced them during the course of Harry in his story. Copernican principle was the necessary chaos that Krishna Scratch had to introduce in order to bring the omnious order of relativity out of that chaos, which later on paved the way for Buddhic Big Bang. These are the khotowat shaitan, or the footsteps, or the incremental steps of the Satan that is taking us to completely lose our groundedness. And the idea is that the Big Bang has been there in the beginning. It is not that they are trying to reach to this. This has been the foundation of the Samudic or the Samadic word insight, and then they were trying to gradually spoon fed you with this idea. And so the idea of the Big Bang is what toward the end they have reached to it. That is again necessarily a part of the historical course of making the asbab. In other words, Copernican principle was the Trojan horse of the Shiva Ziva Zeus that has caused the step-by-step downfall of Allahi absolutism that humans have been taught, Allamahul Bayan, or the discerned, or Allamahu bil Qalam, by the pen, or the by his Isahi pen. The Trojan horse was introduced by Devadadi or Shiva Ziva Zeus to the host human interface in order to paralyze its immune system so that Amen alienated race of the end time apes and Magogi aliens can be mass produced and mass manipulated. The progressive collapse of pen-based platform was initiated by evil introduction of Copernican principle, which then led to development of Kepler's heliocentric crap and Galileo's garbage package, which then led to Apple-made mechanics of gravity guru or so-called Newton. All of them have been eating soma. These are all bunch of monstrous bodhisattvas or the digits, which then led to Ankhd. These are all super Ba'as, the Boaz, the monsters. The Ba'as and Boaz that we read here are not in the, that is part of the plan that they had. The plan was to get the planet to believe in Big Bang or a black hole. But again, these monsters that I named there, they are all the ones that have what? Super IQ in their battle. Like the way that they can dress a formula is something that no one can in arithmetic beat them. Or the way that they have brought, and if you are the one that is working with the dark matter and dark energy from 600 years ago, and then and you know that the 1/3 of the iceberg that is visible as dark matter and dark energy is working on that 2/3. Actually, they are saying that 85% of the mass of the universe is missing as dark matter and dark energy. More than 2/3 is under the water from what we see as the visible iceberg. And if you know about that, then it is very easily to get everybody on that to buy whatever is your belief and your philosophy of Mr. Feel or thoughts about that part. And then they bring it and mass sell it. And so the progressive collapse of pen-based platform, that was the mindset that we had, and that was the qawl sabit and asl sabit, the fixed promise and the fixed word of God and the fixed love story and the fixed poetry or shu'ur or consciousness, having the same name in Arabic or in Hebrew. We call it Sirius or Sirius, a star of Sirius. And so the progressive collapse of the platform that the later on we see that it is called Sambara, they hate it. was initiated by evil introduction of Copernican principle, which then led to the development of Kepler's heliocentric crap and Galileo's garbage package, which then led to Apple-made mechanics of gravity guru or Newton, which then led to Einstein's relativity, which then led to Buddhic bullcrap of Big Bangian bubble. This is how the progressive collapse comes, or Khotobat or Shaitan. That is how Durga Dragon's Darwinian evolution was provided with the dark duration of 13.7 billion light years to explain its random existence, which was without meaning or purpose or resurrection. This evil empire of the empty lies and slanted wall of wobbly zens, or Buddhic babble of stinky guesses that had been based upon Copernican principle, has finally collapsed under the self-weight of its hollow hubris, arid arrogance, and evil emptiness. In 2013, when results of the cosmic microwave background radiation of Planck probe that I provided here at the right upper right corner of the screen were published. We call it as CBM, cosmic microwave background radiation. Third question, how does the Vishnuic virus of Copernican principle, or the Trojan horse, mutates into Einsteinian relativity? What's the relation of these two? And how would du'ahi da'at edda'a chakra of a Nazarati gnosis shenas would interpret the reptilian reasoning of Copernican principle and its omnious offspring, which is known as Einsteinian relativity? The pivotal experiment that connects these two astray assumptions of the house of cards of Curse Krishna Scratch is the Michelson-Morley experiment of 1887, which was designed to measure the Earth's motion in ether, whether or dark matter and dark energy, or the motion of that visible part of the iceberg in the oceanic dark matter, dark energy under the water. Whether Earth's diurnal motion or daily angular orbit or 24-hour rotation around its axis between its celestial poles, which is normal to its equinox plane or plane of its celestial equator, or Earth's annual motion, or its 365 days orbit, or year-long rotation around Sun in ecliptic plane, as we are brainwashed and told and indoctrinated in schools by end-time education system of Buddha Abudan, the Helios. However, to the great surprise of the physics world, the Michelson-Morley experiment did not detect such a vertigo-inducing velocity of Earth turning around itself, or the daily angular orbit, as well as the Earth's diurnal motion, or diurnal motion, as well as the Earth's annual motion, because it does not exist, because both of the diurnal and annual components of Earth's motion are zero. Earth is standing still. Instead of accepting the result of Michelson-Morley experiment that empirically proves that the existence of a stationary Earth are fixed or fixed pottery pit of the stationary potter, instead of accepting the result of Michelson-Morley experiment that experimentally proves the existence of a stationary Earth or a fixed pottery pit of the stationary potter with a stationary hand, and Einstein of Buddha Abudan tries to maintain the loser lie of Copernican principle by making it bigger, by genetically modifying the altering the equations of classical physics or the mechanics and electrodynamics. In other words, Guru Einstein does not offer any physical reason or corporeal cause to justify the changing of the equations of mechanics. This Shakyamuni monk that is receiving Shakya for strengthening his Boaz power or strength, only continues with false framework. Again, this orangutan, he is actually the Einstein is part of the Rosicrucian funky school of the Buddha Abudan. Shakyamuni monk only continues with false framework of Father Diva or Shiva Ziva Zeus's Copernican principle, and says implicitly in his 1905 paper on relativity that because Michelson-Morley experiment has not measured the Earth's motion around Sun and itself, therefore his Parvatic principle of special relativity must apply to save the Copernican predecessor of his evil ideology or idea, and that is basically says that because it has not, then his special relativity must apply in order to justify and save the Copernican principle. In other words, his basic assumption is that the Copernican principle is true. Why? As we read in our Surah 27 verse 23, they are doing the Surya Namastakara and they are doing the sun salutation to the Shamash or the black sun, Suartsone, in the dark, in the spring of dark mud or dark matter or the humming mud that is basically in the Kundalini canyon of the heavy gurus. And so that is why Mokshat monkey saw fit to change the equations by introducing the Lorentzian lens contraction and time dilation and mass alteration. And so it is okay, and no one gets you as a moron or with mental condition if you talk about mass alteration or time dilation or lens contraction. They give you Nobel Prizes at the end of the time. However, if you talk about the Palestinian cause, then that's everything changes. Or if you say anything against the LGBT losers. So that Allah he absolutism and Isa he idea ادعاءات of stationary earth can be blown up and big banged out of the purposeful proportion. That is why Copernican predecessor of relativity is considered the theological that is why Copernican predecessor of relativity is considered the theological dynamite of Under Indra, that through a chain of Shiva chimpanzees and Goliath giants or bodhisattvas like Kepler, Galileo, Newton, Einstein finally blows up with Big Bang in Buddhic mentality of the Babel Tower, so that hundreds of millions of Magogi, hippies, LSTers, losers, PhD, the yogis, and Beelzebubi maggots of Dajjalic hunter can be educated and mass-produced in the short span of the historical time that has been left for him, Harry self, in the post-World War II era. When bias science bias science persists on its prejudiced presupposition of Copernican principle and invents relativity to protect the Copernican principle, because the so said science had failed for 3 centuries to prove experimentally that Earth even moves a millimeter, turns around the sun and itself, then we can deduce that we are not dealing with science, but rather an evil ideology or da'at. That is how empty ego of the and again, this evil ideology or da'at is the ba'as, that is bowling, or the mind power that by means of the IQ dominancy is shoving its ideology into everybody's throat, and no one, none of the animals of the farm can defy that by their brain, and that's all the only that's the realm in which we are. That is how empty ego of the genius guru, the Rajolaka, or the gurus, of Satan, of Shiva, Ziva, Zeus, who desperately wanted to justify its Allah-less existence, gets him to conjure up the special relativity, in which measuring rods would shrink and time moves in different rates, so that no constant and absolute remains for the heart to cling to it in the Harry haunted house or dark room with inky elephant in it. In other words, after numerous attacks of Samadic psychopaths or Guru Goliaths to Allah reinforced Adams, a manamonic mushroom body of Messiah, like their attack to Hezbollah hearts of the mushroom camps of Galgal Qala of the Joshua 10:9-15 in Israel, whether that of Muhammadahi camp, which was under the Soma stone siege for 27 days, or that of Davida or Moses or Yeshua. They realized, after all of these attacks and their failures, they realized that Ein Sof apes of Krishna Kina, or the hatred or the Jezebelian jealousy of the Ezekiel 8:3, who are kabbalistically framed and garbed around Bel, or the kabbing or kabuling or kabbalaying or accepting or ethosing the Rig Vedaic logos, or eta'ating or inosh nosing the Big Bang, because it is all nothing and it is all mind, maya, mirage, and it must return to that, who are kabbalistically framed and garbed around Bel, or the blank none or nothingness, or ain't null of the sacred sounds, cannot do anything against Amen word wrapped words of Allahi word, because they are purposefully honeyed with purpose and pleasure of love. Thus, there is whether in the case of Davida or the Moses with the shamans and the Yeshua or Muhammadahi camp, 27 days, 40 days, where the magicians of the Pharaoh lost their things, on and 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 on. They always failed. However, they are grudging and insisting that on accepting Allah, and they are dharmaing or dharmaing to samudi or samadhic, nothing of the pure this. And so after seeing that they cannot do anything, thus they started their science-based attack to the constant and absolute core of the human heart and reality. And again, all of the constants started moving, and then the absolutes or groundness or the asluha sabit and qawlaha sabit were all stripped off. The constant and absolute core is absolute love, or salam singularity, or samadi or samet, which means seated, stationary. Allah is seated stationary at Yasin Yasna Izad Yazdan face, Jasper face, Jasper eye, or steadfastness, or the solid centeredness, from whom Halal Yahuwallahi Hilal Halal crescent Qamar moon is emitted, and then the motion of the Holy Spirit and the Hosanna, his husband is coming, is emitted, so that after Isa, he qab of Allah, or the frame of Allah that has qabulat or qabalat Allah, or the framed Allah, has a religion rimmed and faith framed around Allah, and a straight path, or the Sirat al-Mustaqim, or the constant column core, or the main trunk of tree of love life is erected between 2 points of the higher disk and lower disk. Then Halal Yahuwallahi branches and 7 signaling stars can be added to the tertiary temple. This is the constant and absolute core of the reality that is being targeted. And the way that you can target it is to deny the samadhi singularity, or the stationary samadness of Allah, or a steadfast or solid stationary state of Allah on throne. Fourth question: what is wrong with reptilian reasoning of Einsteinian relativity? And what is wrong with Copernican principle? There are two interdependent there are two interdependent and coupled lies in Copernican heliocentrism that are working together as two sun rising from the west, as we read in the hadith of Prophet Muhammad, in such a way that after their simultaneous and superimposed application, like -1 multiplied by -1 equal to +1, the natural phenomena of the sun rising from the east can be artificially derived. And so two lies are being given to us and shoved into our throats, and if you only swallow one, then you will see that it is obvious lie. And so they shoved another one in order for us to see what we see in the natural cycles at the moment. These two lies are of equal negative value, and we cannot adopt one of the two without adoption of the other one. The first falsification is the diurnal motion of Earth around itself and its daily rotation in its equinox plane. or its counterclockwise orbit around its celestial pole. The second falsification is annual rotation of Earth or counterclockwise orbit of the revolving Earth around Sun in ecliptic plane. One lie accounts for daily and clockwise motion of Sun around Earth, and the other lie accounts for seasonal changes which are naturally produced by orbit of Sun around Earth in the ecliptic plane. By invoking the principle of BDCT and model, Matthew 21 verse 33 and Surah 52 verse 1 to 6, one can see, or Genesis 1 or Surah 24 verse 35, one can see that if Winepress Wilderness or the Woman Valley or the Gaia Gap or the Mother Earth that is full of dark matter and dark energy, or the power plant, or the Bahrul Mashur, or the lake of burning fire that at the moment is the three Shulai Shiuli layers of the bottomless pit of black smoke that is not blazed into lake of burning fire, or three levels, three local lakes, or Hufrata Minan Nar, or the hell as a whole, a spring of Hama'atan of Surah 1886. And so by invoking the principle of BDCT and Wadden, one can see that if Winepress Wilderness turns, then all, or kull shay'in, because kull, all of the programs, the power supply are given to the dark matter and dark energy source, or the left hand of God, or the paper. And so the paper is stationary. Of the stochastic stuffs inside her Vuji vagina, or Arsh Azim of Amrat, or the Galilee gardening lady, or Gaia, will turn consequently. Therefore, if surface Earth turns counterclockwise around its celestial axis, as a result of Copernican heliocentrism, the evil explanation of natural rise of Sun from the east, then Sun, Moon, planets, ether, and space, which are locked to the Mother Earth's membrane, or sigil, or the sigil of the pottery pit, must also follow her and turn counterclockwise around her celestial axis, which in this eschatological case, if that is happening, then this also will follow. Which in this eschatological case would get the Sun to rise from the west. In order to nullify the reverse and reverse such an unnatural result, Copernican principle adds another evil explanation, or another lie, or another -1 to get to the what we get as natural number, or another psychopathic spin with the excuse of accounting for seasonal changes, which in this eschatological case gets the Sun to rise from the west as a result of the counterclockwise orbit of Earth around Sun in heliocentrism, like a relative motion, that once you get this, if you make one stationary, then the Sun rises from the west. And if Earth is turning around itself, if you fix and that motion, and then Earth becomes stationary, then entire ether starts rotating in the same direction that Earth is rotating, and then that's what we see as the sun rising from the west in hadith of Prophet Muhammad. And so like twice sun is rising from the west, and that is lie. Twice twice sun rising from the west have already been incorporated in what we call it as conventional heliocentrism. That's how Bas, or the intelligence of these monster Hindus, is powerful in getting the animals of the farm to accept two lies and not even realizing that both of them are lies. And if you get one of them out, then the other one cannot exist. That's why they needed both of them simultaneously to be shoved into our throats. Once we add up these two heliocentric lies and follow them together, as we are told in schools of Egypt, then we see that the natural routine of days and seasons, without realizing that we have subliminally accepted twice the piggy programming of Nimrod, in which Harry Hatred has been successful to sell us the ill idea of sun rising from the west. That is the discourse that Abraham had with this orangutan. Abraham said Allah is the one that is bringing Allah is the God of nature and time, is bringing the sun from the east. If you can bring it up from the west. And so the God of mind, not the God of heart and nature and whatever we are grounded on it, said, all right, I'm gonna do it. How the hell did he do it? With his bodhisattvas, or the genius nirvana Neanderthals, he gets us to think that Earth is turning around itself. In this case, the entire ether, or the space, or the Higgs boson field is turning around the axis of Earth. And so in that case, sun is gonna go with that field, because sun is assembled in that field. Counterclockwise turning around Earth, and that is actually one Tulu ash-Shams min al-Maghrib, and then another Tulu ash-Shams min al-Maghrib is what? Is the fact that Earth is turning in annual motion around sun. And then once we fix that, then sun will go in another annual motion around the ecliptic plane of the Earth. And so that is another Tulu ash-Shams min al-Maghrib, although the rate of these two motions are not equal. One is every 24 hours, much faster. The other one is 365 days. However, both of them are comprising the Tulu ash-Shams min al-Maghrib, sun rising from the west. And that's why Prophet Muhammad said one of the signs of this orangutan is sun rising from the west. But sun doesn't really actually come up from the west. Sun only ideologically comes up from the west by this orangutan making bunch of Freemasonic societies and getting the orangutans to give each other Nobel for selling everybody a bunch of garbage lies. That's the alien invasion that has already happened, and animals of the farm are scratching head. And again, if someone can do this to you and to your belief system about the reality, then it is easy peasy for them to get you to believe in whatever they say about who is the terrorist and who is not the terrorist, like Hassan Nasrallah, or my brother Sardar Qasem Soleimani, the head of the IRGC forces. And then the puppet poop becomes the Papa of the Christian Catholicism. But again, I have no problem with none of these. Sun rising from the west, this is how we get twice of this lie to come into. And so the eschatological hadith of Prophet Muhammad comes and says that sun rising from the west is one of the signs of the end time. And so exposure of disclosing this scandal and this lie, this scientific scandal, is basically bringing the mankind to the realization that it has already accepted the lie, and that means that sun has risen from the west in your mind and twice, and then you realize where the lie is. Although the natural motion is what Abraham said. After Michelson-Morley experiment, as well as many other parallel experiments, had shown that both of these motions or two fictitious rotations were zero and are zero and will be zero, Einstein defended the doubled up the deception of Copernican principle by worsening them and adding the lieful layer of relativity on top of them. But again, this adding was deliberately there in order for our minds to get to the next phase that the black hole has prepared for us to die into this and vanity. This adding up of the ad hoc hypotheses that are used to patch a punctured presupposition is a circular reasoning that never accepts the falsehood of its stinky supposition. This type of retard reasoning is called circular reasoning, or loop 22 of mindhole, or catch 22 logic of nothing in itself, in Kantian conception of Parvati Kant cult. This retard Kant is another digit, or the Bodhisattva, or another student of Phil, Ashabul Phil, Asura 105. His name Phil, another Phil speaker that is coming to speak with bunch of garbage, rubbish. Chicken or egg first cycle. This is the 22 cycle, or the circular reasoning, or the Taoist interiorization of Zen zero, or double thinking of the survivalist ego, which imagines the imaginary number of I to the power of 2 equal to -1, in addition to I equal to the power of 2 equal to +1, in order to gather and spell an elam and lam, pull, perceptualize, and tower up the Taiji Tagut, or imagine annex scheme, or zamma scheme, or zamama, take under column consideration both sides of the Vayu void, because in the Heji you need the both sides to be hedged or spelled in the spelling. When you are doing, you are entering and going to the center of any mantra, and then you're coming out. And so of the Vayu word, or the Zen zero, or the Kant coin of clayful conception, or toroidal thinking, rotary rational in such a clockwise and counterclockwise manner that Maya mirage can be cooked and materialized into empty existence.